Hey guys, welcome back to Clatapult. This is Mitali, one of the legal educators at Clatapult, and today we are going to discuss some of the most common mistakes that people end up doing while attempting mocks. Now, I shall also cover mistakes that you may end up doing before or after taking the mocks, but it's not a problem that you are making so many mistakes. And even if you can relate to all of these mistakes, please don't worry. Mistakes and making mistakes is very common. The idea is to make sure that once you make a mistake and you can identify it, to not repeat these mistakes. So let's delve into some of the most common mistakes. That is waiting to finish the syllabus before attempting the mock. Now, most of the people are very scared of attempting mocks. I've seen a lot of students just wait on finishing the syllabus, practicing a lot before they end up taking their very first mock. This is not the right approach. CLAT is a national level entrance exam. It is completely different than your board exams or your class 11th exams or your term exams, where there is a complete syllabus that you can learn, memorize, repeat, and end up literally writing down in the exam paper. CLAT is based on aptitude and requires lots and lots of practice, more than any completion of syllabus. So the best way to approach a CLAT mock is to literally practice it and take it. There is no fixed syllabus, so why not just practice more and get into the momentum of it as soon as you can instead of waiting for an endless syllabus to end, which never really ends. So the best idea and the best approach to go about taking mocks, especially in the beginning few months like right now, is to take at least one mock a week and analyze it properly and learn from your mistakes, and then make sure that those mistakes are not repeated in your next mocks. Coming to the second most common mistake that students make is ignoring sectional tests. I've seen a lot of students just ignore sectional tests, waiting for the mocks to make improvements in their results and scores, waiting on full length mocks to help them identify their weak, strong areas in very, very small niche areas of syllabus. So, how do you tackle this? The best way to approach this problem is to target sectional tests. Sectional tests are not just 35-40 minute tests just to get you into the zone. Sectional tests are very important in order to help you identify your weak and strong areas in your sections. I know it's very easy to identify your interesting section or the best section that you are good at during a mock. Say you like English and maths and you're not too good at legal. So it's very obvious to identify this in the mock. But how do you really make sure that you score better in your areas which are weak also, like legal? The approach is to use sectional tests. Sectional tests help you identify small areas where you're probably lacking within that subject, within that area. Say for logic, you're not too good at critical reasoning questions or you're not too good at syllogisms. And it is very easy to identify these mistakes once you're writing sectional tests instead of waiting for the whole mock to help you figure out these mistakes. So do not ignore your sectional test. Keep giving sectional tests at least every second day and make sure you are looking after all the sections in the palette. Now, third one is one of the most common mistakes that I've literally seen in everyone. Most of us are perfectionists at heart and we feel that we should not move to something unless one thing is complete. But this is a very problematic strategy in an exam like CLAT, which is extremely time bound, very restrictive, and does not allow a lot of freedom to explore different techniques and strategy. And this mistake is waiting for a section to be completely finished, no matter how difficult, how targeted, and how lengthy the section is. So the best way to go about this is to target the simplest and most viable questions in the question paper and leave the questions in the section for later time when you have more time, or if you are running out of time, it's better to drop the difficult questions and attempt the questions which are more likely to be correct and more likely to help you score positive marks. So in your first attempt, you should only solve questions which are very easy to solve, do not require a lot of your headspace, a lot of stress. And then in the later part, say in the last half an hour, you can target questions which you left behind or which were more difficult. This would not make you feel that, oh, 45 minutes have ended and I'm only stuck on English, a section which I could only complete in 20 minutes in my mocks, because paper vary in their terms of difficulty and in terms of lengthiness. And a lot of times CLAT consortium is also smart enough to make certain sections difficult and more lengthy to solve than some sections which are easier to solve. And CLAT is not just about aptitude, it is also about your personality and your smartness. And a person who is smart enough would understand that it's no easy feat to solve so many questions within a span of 1.5 hours or 2 hours. And that's why you need to be very strategic with respect to the questions you pick and the questions you leave. The fourth mistake is related to the third one, is improper time management skills. Now, as I've already said, it's very important to not only know what questions to do in the exam, but also to what questions to leave. And with respect to time, you don't have an endless period of time. So, a good way to help yourself and to help you attempt more questions within that set period of time is to devote a maximum time limit to each of the sections. For example, you can devote 33 to 35 minutes to legal section, and once that time is up, even if you have not attempted all the questions, or even if more than half of your questions are left, I think you should drop that section and move on to the next section. Because what if English is a lot easier than legal and you can solve English passages within a span of 15 minutes? That would boost your confidence and that would not make you feel that you don't know anything when you probably know everything. It's just the exam is more difficult or legal is more difficult. So in order to sum up mistakes 3 and 4 and how to resolve those mistakes is attempt easy questions first, and these could also be related to shorter passages, and then secondly have a set time limit for each of the sections that you are attempting. Coming to mistake number 5, this is losing concentration during the exam. Now, CLAT is no easy exam. It requires a lot of reading, a lot of rigorous focus and attention within a very restricted time period. So, it's easier to get fatigued and give up midway, or at least zone out, than completely focus on the exam. But there's a huge downside to it. Every minute that you lose focus during the exam could probably cost you a lot of marks in the result. So, what do we really do about it? How do we identify what is the reason of such a result? It probably is related to your poor pre-test preparation. In order to be able to perform well during the mock, so as to prepare yourself and train yourself to perform well during the exam, you need to focus on a few things. For example, make it a habit to always attempt the mock in the time that you require to write the mock or write the paper in an actual exam. For example, CLAT usually takes place between 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. every year. I'm not sure if they end up changing the time this year, but I'm sure they will give you enough time to prepare yourself mentally for that time frame. So if CLAT takes place from 2 to 4 p.m., it might be a good idea to practice the mocks every day or every week at that set period of time. Because if you're used to writing mocks late at night, you might end up napping during the exam between 2 to 4 p.m. Now, a lot of students end up having lunch at 1 p.m. and then writing a mock from 2 to 4 p.m. and then get surprised that they felt like sleeping during their lunch. Now, come on, I think this is very obvious why you feel sleepy during the mock time period. It is probably because you've just had lunch. So, it might be a good idea to make your time management according to your needs. So, for example, if the mock is from 2 to 4 p.m., it might be a good idea to have lunch at 12 p.m. and then have some break in between the test and between your lunch so that the food is digested at a normal pace and you can focus on the mock fully and completely between that time. Apart from that, make sure that you do not engage in any distracting activities even during the mock. A lot of students have this weird habit of checking their phones or just actually zoning out for 10 minutes and increasing their mock limit by 10 more minutes because they felt like, oh, they just zoned out. This is not a good practice because in an actual exam, you will not get those extra 10 minutes, nor will you have your phone, nor will you have anything to scribble on. So it's a good idea to get rid of all the distractions, and it could possibly be better if you can sit at your table 20 minutes before you start your mock so as to get into that zone, mentally prepare yourself, and also, as I've already mentioned countless of times, make sure to mentally allocate time to sections so that you are not only focused but also very smart and alert about the time that you have during the mock. Coming to mistake number 6, and that might offend some of you, I know that. That is attempting heavy reading sections back to back. Now I know some people who absolutely loathe GK and find it absolutely useless, and some people who think maths is stupid and I don't want to attempt, and that's why they end up liking critical reasoning, legal reasoning, and English, and attempt all three of them at one go might feel offended by this statement. But there is a scientific logic behind this. All three of these sections require you to focus fully, completely on reading. Now, it is a very common understanding that when you're focusing on one thing, that is a typical thing for a very long period of time, you are likely to get bored, zoned out, and lose focus. So now it's a good idea to mix and match the sections that you attempt so as to not compromise your speed nor your accuracy. Because honestly, even in myself, I've seen it countless of times where I've been reading continuously, I just zone out, and this leads to a lot of repetitiveness with respect to reading passages again and again, reading the same line twice or thrice or four times. So now, what's a good idea to help solve this? Firstly, make sure that you attempt a very heavy reading passage of your choice, of your strength first, then insert GK or math in between. Then pick up another heavy reading based section and then insert whatever is left of GK or maths again between the two heavy reading based passages. Because trust me, even if you don't like maths or GK, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to clear an exam like CLAT without attempting those two sections. So why not attempt it strategically when you are less fatigued or when you have the mindset to be able to solve those questions? Coming to the final mistake that most students end up making is not analyzing your mocks properly. How are you supposed to improve if you don't know what to improve on or what's going wrong? Most students end up analyzing their mocks the day they write their mocks. But if you feel like your scores are stagnant, then you need to reanalyze your 4 to 5 previous mocks and find a pattern of the type of questions that you are messing with, that you are unable to solve properly, and some of the types of questions that end up getting wrong every time, no matter what you do. So, for example, if your critical reasoning marks are stuck at say 15 or 20 for the last 4 to 5 mocks, so there's a pattern between these mocks, you need to analyze them together. Identify, say, is there a certain type of question that I'm doing wrong, or is it just that I'm in a hurry that I end up doing these questions wrong? Identifying this would help you analyze what exactly can you improve on and what exactly can you change in your next mock, and it can give you a clear result that okay, I identified these mistakes and I made these changes in my next mock, and now I've improved on all of these things. So now once you identify these recurring mistakes, it's easier to resolve them, solve them, and make sure that they're not repeated in the upcoming mocks. Now we have identified some of the most common mistakes that all of you end up doing while attempting mocks. Now the best way to go about this is to concentrate on these mistakes and not ignore them, because it's very easy to ignore the mistakes and feel good about the score. But it's likely that you might have a good score here and there, but in order to maintain a consistent score, you need to get rid of these repeating mistakes that you're making so often. So I hope this session was helpful in identifying the mistakes, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.